What you got for us, Razi?
Uh, I don't know which one I want to go with.
Flip a coin.
I think this was more poignant. I can wait on the other one. So I'm gonna go with the Uncle Joe and this whole Afghanistan thing.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So unless you wanted to ask it, Ferg, if that was your question,
I know what's coming now.
Okay. So I want to get you guys' opinions on the withdrawal. Was it the right time? Was it the right answer not to go back in and do that? Because the fallout of Afghanistan. No, I'm gonna say the rest of that because that's part of my answer. So, was the withdrawal and the choice of going ahead and withdrawing the right call, regardless of if it was Trump's or Joe's? Was that the right call, and why?
I think it was the right call. I personally just don't believe in occupying a country forever. And that's what we seem to do. It's what Bin Laden warned the Saudis when they accepted our help. He warned them, hey, once you let America in, they never leave. So I actually don't believe in just occupying a country. With that said, though, the reason it just seems so bad is that it just doesn't seem like there was a plan in place. And the president has, I've literally seen him answer the same question two completely different ways, to where, yes, we knew it would be this bad, to no, we didn't think it would be this bad. So I just think, have a plan. We've been there 20 years. Okay, so obviously staying 5 more years, 10 more years wasn't going to make a difference. So unless the American policy was, hey, we're in Afghanistan forever, and we just accept that, that's one thing. But if the goal was always to leave at some point, then there was never going to be a right time. It was always going to be the Taliban waiting for us to leave so they can take over. But I just think, when you see people trying to get to the airport and what they're going through, even Americans, I'm seeing reports that Americans can't even get to the airport, despite what the administration is saying. They can't get to the airport safely without being beat on by the Taliban. So maybe a better plan could have helped execute this. But as far as leaving, unless we were going to stay there forever, yes, it was the right time. It was the right time now. It was the right time 5 years ago. It was the right time 10 years from now. Because whenever we left, obviously what we've been training those people to do was not getting through, because this happened way too fast. We have no evidence. We have precious little evidence that we've been there 20 years, because it's evolved back to exactly what it was before we got there.
I think it's one of those, and I agree with you, Buff, even especially when you said it was the right time 5 years ago, it was the right time today, it was the right time 10 years from now. It was never going to be a peaceful transition. And the sad thing is, you just have to look at it the way it is. It's like, how long do we want to be there? What is the best thing that can happen from us being there, continuously being there? How many more American soldiers have to lose their lives? How many families have to be separated if we pull out 10 years from now and the same thing was going to happen? The Afghan military was not in a position to take over. The only thing I will say about the pullout is it was not well planned for the Taliban to walk away better equipped than they did before we got there. They got stingers from us. Now they have thousands of weapons, millions of rounds. And for the people over there, I feel my heart goes out to the Afghan people, because that's who's truly going to suffer. Like, I feel like the Afghan people are going to be way worse off than they were 20 years ago. You know, that's the sad thing. I don't know, man. I don't even know if there was a right answer. Isaac, give me some political or some military insight. I don't know if I'm missing something, but that long-term occupancy is just, I think we should give ourselves a certain amount of time to stabilize. But once we realize we can't stabilize, we got to get out. Hilarious.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at my. Are those tacos? Those look good. I'll say this: the call to go ahead. It took balls by Trump and Biden to go ahead and say we're going to rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to leave. And I think it was the right call. For what you guys have said, whatever, we've spilt enough blood. We've spent a whole lot of treasure there. And we did know that it was going to be this bad. We knew it was going to come. To kind of go back to what you were saying, Buff, about Biden saying both ways, the military community knew that fight was going to happen. They knew the Taliban was just basically laying in wait. And it was, what was not planned was how fast it happened, and I don't think anybody could have really thought that within a week the Taliban would have Afghanistan. That's huge. Not like, I could see them having big swaths, they were really powerful in the South, so it made sense, when we were there, right? Like rocketing almost every night, like firefights randomly. Like it was crazy. But my thing is, we can't do it forever. We couldn't. And I feel for every person that's there now trying to get out, all the people that helped us over the last 20 years that's trying to get out. You got to think, our Terps, like we hung out with them hard. Like we go out to the Terp tent.
That's exactly what I thought of when I saw it or heard it.
Yeah, and so to think that they can't get out right now, and they're suffering because we spent 20 years there, and we did train the military. The military was ready to be able to push the Taliban back. The issue came in where the Taliban knew the culture of Afghanistan way better than America did, and even the ANA did. Like the Afghan military they tried to buck the culture because we taught them to buck the culture. We taught them to, you need to form like the American military or like, developed nations militaries or whatever, European militaries, instead of, they had a government system before we got there. They had a military system. They had warlords and a way of governing before we got there. And we didn't actually build on top of that. We said, you know what? We're going to give you an American style system. Actually, we gave them a British style system. We gave them parliamentarian system. But we want y'all to be a democracy, instead of saying, what do you guys want to do? How do you want to govern yourselves? How do you want to rule yourselves? And we propped up people. And as soon as we left, it wasn't that our military left, because our military technically left like 7 years ago. Like we have turned over security to them, and we were just in a support role. What left when we say we were pulling out is the money. When we stopped paying everybody off, when we stopped pumping all that money into there, that's what everybody knew, that Afghanistan couldn't stand on itself or on its own without the opium trade. And the opium trade was owned by the Taliban. So where were they going to get money? From them. So that's really what it came down to, man. I feel for everybody there. When it first happened, I mean, I thought back to our deployment. I mean, all the dreams and the flashes, it just all started coming back. I mean, seeing the guys dying on the table, Remember the guy that had like the no eyes, like all of that just like really started coming back, and that hurt. That hurt that we spent 20 years and we did all of that, and we lost so many people for it not to actually matter. That's really like, it doesn't feel like it mattered because we really didn't accomplish anything.
They said it was going to be another Vietnam.
Yeah, they said that from the start, and it's true. So I don't think I answered anything. I just rambled, but I wanted to really talk through it, man.
You two both serve. Can I ask you real quick before we get the first question? Should we have been there in the first place?
I can see both ways, truthfully. I think we should have been, especially if we hadn't gone into Afghanistan, there would have been more tax on the United States. Because, you know, if we didn't take the fight to them where they had to defend themselves, then they could have continued to attack us. And so it's one of those things that you go over there, you take the fight to them, or you let them bring the fight to us, continue. And it's very, very hard to defend against an insurgency. Like with an awesome series, if you want to go back, it's called Sleeper Cell. I think it's Michael Ealy or Ely, I don't know how to say his name, is in there, and it's him going undercover in a sleeper cell where they're trying to do another 9/11 type thing here on the U.S. soil. Great series. If you ever want to go watch something, check that out. But that's the type of thing that we have to defend against if we don't take the fight to them. So I think it was the smart thing to go in, but the issue comes in, you have to have an end state. Like one of the first things when we create an operational plan or we go in for military campaign is what is the end state. And if the end state is too amorphous, which is, setting up a new government, that takes forever. That's nation building. You can't do that with the military. We've seen that in Afghanistan. We've seen that in Iraq. We've seen that in Vietnam. Everywhere that we've gone and we've tried to use the military to set up a new government, it doesn't work. So you have to nation build with your Department of State. You can't nation build with your military. So our end state should have been, finding Osama bin Laden, deposing, taking him out of leadership, but then you leave a power vacuum. So I don't know what that end state should have been, but the end state should have been very clearly defined on what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, and when we want to leave, and don't move the goalposts. So I think it was right to go in. It's just staying there 20 years didn't make sense.
Yeah, it definitely was right to go in because we needed to act fast. But it was just, I think it was a no-win situation. Like, what is taking out bin Laden, like Razi said, would have left a leadership vacuum. There was something missing. And I'm trying to go through my mind and think in history, when has occupying a nation and deposing their government ever worked out for the people, really? In modern history, it might work out for the occupying country. And when you look at that, you think about a lot of the quote unquote colonizers. If they going over there, they messing some shit up, they're going over there messing some shit up and staying and making it America, making it America over there. But now it's, we can't turn it over. I don't think that's ever really worked, especially when you're trying to change a group of people who have a certain thought process. And I'm not arguing right, wrong, or indifferent over their thought process or religions or their way of life. But these things, the way they look, the way they live, this stuff is older than time. This is some of the earliest civilization. And we're trying to come in with this new age America shit and say, hey, dude, be like us. And they're like, dude, you haven't been doing this long enough to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. You can't. It's just like, it's almost like it was a religious war in their mind. It's a mindset, and you can't fight a mindset. Every time we try to fight a mindset, we're going to lose, point blank. Yep. And that's it. The only wars that have really seen is when somebody was trying to dominate and take over other lands. That's when we've seen success. The world wars, when we stopped an empire from spreading. But just going in like, hey, your people over there, we don't like what they're doing. Look at all the African countries that we come over there and lost lives in and still losing lives, still going on in Africa, people, just in case you didn't know, all over. They're still fighting to this day. People are still going over their own missions, losing their lives, and nothing's going to change because you're trying to fight a war of the mind. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Even when we were there, the question was, and I'll be honest, a lot of times the question was, why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the end result was like, as long as they don't crash more planes into in the US, then we're good. But I was thinking about this the other day. I wouldn't be surprised as quick as the Taliban resurface that there won't be a major attack soon to make their impact felt.
I don't know. I doubt they'll come after us anymore. They have the win now. You got to think. They have the win. Like they pushed America out, right? That's their thing. They fought America and won, so they have the W. They don't need to come and attack us anymore.
Don't re-engage.
Right. But I think this goes back to everybody, those Warhawks out there. And everything they love to talk about, we need to go to war. We need to put boots on ground. We need to attack the country whenever somebody does something that we don't like. You heard that in Iran when that happened. And, you heard that with South Korea or North Korea. You think folks have talked about we should go in there and everything. The proportional response and why everybody kind of hated Obama when he was doing it is, when they did 9/11 and they hit the trade centers, if we had gone in and bombed every military base in Afghanistan, just bombed the shit out of it and dropped bombs on them and just walked away like, now try something else again. Y'all need to get y'all people right. Like, I think that would have been a more proportional and probably a bigger statement than us putting folks on the ground for 20 years, pulling out, and then the Taliban resurfacing and having all of our equipment that we left behind and everything else. They're in a better situation now than they were 20 years ago.
So am I remembering wrong? Because I don't dispute. I will take you guys' answer because you guys were there, you served. But Afghanistan wasn't responsible for 9/11. Those were Saudi attackers, and Bin Laden was in Pakistan.
Yeah, but the Taliban was Taliban related. So they tracked it, and Bin Laden was in Pakistan after that. Like, he was leading from Pakistan to make sure that. But he was controlling the Taliban in Afghanistan. Like, that was their largest foothold. And the opium that supplied and funded most of their stuff came out of Afghanistan. So that's really what it was. It was like Afghanistan was their base of operations. Yeah, they were Saudi nationals. That was the way that they could actually get here because Afghanistan was still on kind of a no-fly. It was really hard to get in from Afghanistan type thing. So they couldn't use Afghani nationals for it. But they were Taliban affiliated, even though they were Saudi nationals.
Okay. So that's why they always say follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
So
shout out to Lester Freeman on The Wire.
Who was that said they didn't like The Wire on our post?
Oh, I forgot who that. Tiffany Holder.
Oh.
Tiffany Rolex Holder. Yep, she sure did.
Well, call about a whole Facebook government name.
I did. She sure did.
So my post